For better or worse, your public persona can be altered in a matter of seconds. The way society views you, the way your peers view you, and the way you view yourself. With the quick click of a camera and a couple of swipes on a screen, all of a sudden your whole world can change. You have a whole new set of expectations to define and overcome. Now, currently, I have children who are 16, 13, and 10, so I spend a lot of time thinking about the social pressures that they face. And I can't help but compare the social pressures that they're facing to the ones that I faced when I was growing up, when I was in high school, which was, I'm going to age myself here, which was from 1991 to 1995. So my generation, we were right on the cusp of the digital revolution. And we didn't have home internet, we didn't even have cell phones, and we didn't even have free long distance, for crying out loud. But all of those things came into being by the time I graduated from college. So like I say, we were right on the cusp of all of that. But still, we don't really understand what our kids are facing because we didn't face the social pressures the same way that they do. Now, I think we face a lot of the same social pressures, but we did not have the added pressure of knowing that our mistakes and embarrassing moments could be posted for the whole world to see, and that everybody would be able to comment on them. We'd be able to read those comments, even though we know we shouldn't, and that information is out there for eternity. And it took a long time for gossip to spread, and by a long time I mean like a couple days instead of seconds like it does now. And usually when the gossip spread around school, it died down pretty quickly and moved on to the next person. And another big thing I think that our kids face today is that they are slaves to comparison much more than we were, because they have so many more opportunities to compare themselves to people. I mean, we compared ourselves to our friends and other people in our school, and we compared ourselves to the people we saw on TV or listened to on the radio. But, we weren't bombarded with every influencer in the world. So, even though we can't necessarily understand what our kids are going through, we need to try. And we need to know how these added social pressures impact them and how they impact us. And because we're also facing different social pressures than adults did before. So we need to start the focusing on this by developing our deliberate thinking skills, of course. And we need to really focus on thinking deliberately as we are bombarded with all these social media messages. Because the reality is that a one-off moment could haunt you or your kids for the rest of your life. And I think a lot of this stems back to the fact that social media is really the great expectation creator. Because if you stop and think about it, think about how many of your societal, your surface, stereotype, and your self-inflicted expectations, limiting beliefs, whatever you want to call them, think about how many of those have been formed by things that you have seen on social media. And think also about how your beliefs have been impacted by what you've seen in the comment section on social media. And when people are agreeing with your thoughts and echoing your thoughts in the comment section, it works to instill these beliefs or these expectations in your mind. So that's why we need to make sure that we're focusing on deliberate thinking. But, as I was doing some research on social media, I could not help but think how my life would be different if we had had the same types of social media when I was growing up and when I was in high school. And there's a couple one-off moments in particular that, yes, I'm going to share them with you, that I think they might have changed I'm not going to be able to say this word, trajectory. There we go. They may have changed the trajectory. I can't say it. You know what I'm trying to say. The trajectory of my life. So, as it stands right now, not very many people know about these moments, and I highly doubt anybody even remembers them except for me and maybe a couple other people that were directly involved. And you have to read the narrative post to get all of the description, so I go through and I say, outline what actually happened, and then I try to guess about what would happen if that event were to occur today and how that would play out. So the first one I'm calling the full moon incident, and as it would suggest, it involves my full moon, yes. So remember, I lived in the sticks. We had nothing to do. We had no internet. We didn't have cable. We didn't have anything. So we had to try to entertain ourselves. And I believe I was probably about 15. I got to believe I was about 15 or 16 when this happened. So we're goofing around, being silly, taking pictures on film, of course, because we didn't have digital cameras then. And we're getting ramped up, and the pictures are getting goofier and goofier. And all of a sudden, there's three of us. Two of us that don't have the camera decide that it'd be funny, whatever, to moon the camera. So we do. And of course, we look at it, so there's no doubt that it's us. So, fast forward a couple days, and the person who took the pictures has gotten her film developed, and of course, as everybody did in that day, she got double takes, or double prints. And so she gives me a copy of the picture. She gives Mooner number 2 a copy of the picture. And Mooner number 2 is someone who likes to get a lot of attention. So she proceeds to go start showing that picture around school. And I don't remember how I found out about it exactly, but I know I started getting comments from people and, jokes and whispers and whatever. At first, yeah, I was kind of enraged about it and embarrassed. But not for long, because I'm like, well, what am I going to do about it? And what's done is done. They're going to say what they're going to say, and I moved on with life. Nobody found out about it. I mean, peers did, but, no school. Faculty found out about it. My parents didn't find out about it until later or now. I don't remember if I ever told them or not. And I'll get to how that would be different today. But I'll go through example number 2 quickly too. My other one-off moment that comes to mind, I call Scuffle with a Slutty Girl. So, maybe hard to imagine, but I can have a big mouth sometimes. And I was running my mouth talking to a friend of mine who rode the same bus as me. And I was trying to explain this girl to her, what this girl had done, I don't know, and why we were talking about her. And I said, that girl, that slutty girl. Well, slutty girl's sister is standing right next to me, and I didn't know that, and she comes over and tells me that she's going to tell her sister, and her sister's going to kick my ass. Oh, great. So this is Friday. I wasn't riding the bus home that day, so I had all the way until Monday to think about this and worry about it. So Monday morning comes around, I get on the bus first, so I'm sitting in the back of the bus waiting for their bus stop. And, anyway, so she comes back, her sister points me out to Slutty Girl right away. Slutty Girl comes back to me and approaches me. So I heard you call me a slut. And of course I threw my other friend who didn't ride the bus that often, wasn't on the bus that day. Unfortunately, I threw her under the bus. I'm like, no, I didn't say that. I said the girl you think is a slutty girl. I didn't call you a slut. I just know that she thinks you are. So that's how I was describing you. But come on, we both knew that's complete BS. But she didn't really want to fight me, so it gave her a good excuse to back down, and she went on with life. I went on with life, nothing else ever came of it. But I have to think, if those two events had happened today in 2019, that the news of the events would have obviously spread a lot more quickly. There would have been more pictures, more posts about it, whatever. So I think the school personnel would have found out about it. My parents would have found out about it. And how that would have affected me is hard to guess, but even if the backlash from it blew over pretty quickly, it's hard to get that picture out of people's minds once it's there. And the picture of the bare moon or the picture of me fighting with someone. So they would, intentionally or not, that people are going to form new expectations for you. And that would change the trajectory, got it that time, of my life somehow. And not to mention the blow that my fragile self-confidence would have taken, because of course teens have fragile self-confidence, that's just normal. And I would have had to deal with seeing a lot more comments and things, and that, who knows what that would have done to me in the long run. So let's remind ourselves and our kids that what's posted on the internet never goes away. So for me, it could have even affected my college admission. I'm sure college admission counselors do social media screenings. I know a lot of employers do. And so they're screening for those things, and if they found that, that definitely could have impacted some opportunities that I had. As we get older, I don't think that matters as much because you have a professional reputation you've built, but when you are young, it definitely makes a big difference. So as kids, we had the luxury of being kids. We could be immature, we can be impulsive, short-sighted, and no one outside of our direct circle ever had to know about it. Kids, and really all people, don't have that luxury today, and we have to remember that and keep that in mind and give people the benefit of the doubt before we judge them, and assume good intent from people before we jump to conclusions. So those are a couple things to keep in mind as you're going through social media. Don't judge someone's character based on a one-off moment that just happened to be caught on camera. And remember, before you post anything, you never know how your actions are going to affect other people for the good or bad. Until next time, stay curious.